Hello, this is Team 7, Brad, McCall, Sydney, and Cy, and today we are going to talk about our prototypes and testing plans for our stroller lanes at Disneyland. So because our stroller lanes are very much of a kind of hypothetical service that would need to be implemented, we couldn't make a physical prototype, but we made a couple digital versions and storyboards of what we would like these stroller lanes and the accompanying signage to look like. So our first prototype is the stroller lane signage. So this signage would be located right as you enter the park and then at various points near stroller lane entrances all throughout the park so that people can get familiar with the idea and what it is, how it works, why you should use it at all different parts of the park. We also kind of came up with the idea that we would get influencers and various bloggers who are really big on Disney to kind of advertise it for us, but that will come later. So this first prototype, it's again, super rough draft, just meant to be a prototype, low cost, kind of low. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Disneyland itself would make it really beautiful and full of things that are eye-catching to people. But for our purposes, we just really wanted it to be eye-catching. We named it Cinderella's Stroller Lanes to throw some alliteration that really give it that Disney kind of presence to it. And then it goes on to explain exactly what the stroller lane is and then outlines the features and the incentives with really short, straight to the point bullet points so that people don't have to spend a lot of time reading it. But again, it's really eye-catching and it explains why you should use the stroller lanes and what you can get from the stroller lanes really easily and really efficiently for people in big, bold letters to entice them to use it. I will give it to Cy for the second prototype.
Thank you, Sydney. The second prototype is the stroller lane experience. It is more about the journey of a user from the start to the end. As you can see in the pictures, when a user notices these signages, the guests will read the sign and understand Disneyland is providing a separate lane for strollers or users with strollers, and they can utilize them to navigate through the Disneyland. The second step after reading the signages would be that the guests would navigate to the main street where the stroller lanes begin and then enter to avoid the initial park congestion. And during the journey through the stroller lanes, users can encounter incentives such as private meet and greets with cast members and characters. Digital checkpoints embedded in stroller lanes will transfer coupons and points to guests using the stroller lanes via the Disneyland app. And lastly, stroller lanes users also enjoy amenities like dedicated rest benches and overhead misters and heaters to keep themselves and their family comfortable. And finally, the stroller lanes will end or lead directly to the stroller parking lots so that the users may not worry about where the strollers are parked and enjoy the attractions in the Disneyland.
Thank you, Cy. So I'm going to be talking about our napkin pitch for prototype 1, which is again related to signage and what guests first encounter when they come into Disneyland. So breaking it up into the 4 sections here, we first have need. So this is aimed at guests visiting Disneyland with strollers, of course, oftentimes families with many kids. They need things that are safe and comfortable ways to travel throughout Disneyland. The approach for this, we would like to build our stroller lane signage and awareness campaign around the Disney brand to really make it stand out from other parks that may try to imitate this. The benefit here is, of course, increased visitor satisfaction and additional Disney branding opportunities. It is one more way for Disney to lean into their park experience that they are so well known for. And lastly, competition. What similar ideas have we discovered related to our stroller lanes? Well, Disney even has a comparable idea called the Fast Pass option to allow people to bypass long lines. Alternatively, other public areas often have bike lanes to help people avoid crowds and allow for a smoother flow of traffic. For the napkin pitch for our prototype 2, this is once again geared at guests visiting Disneyland with strollers, families. What they are looking for is a convenient, stress-free walking experience with perhaps some additional benefits. The approach for this will be leaning into even more heavily so, incorporating the Disney characters, sights, and sounds into our lanes, making this really a true Disney experience for users that are using our stroller lanes. The benefit here is not only increased visitor satisfaction, but also an additional opportunity for Disney branding to incorporate characters and the Disney brand, as well as possible secondary revenue opportunities, including rewards programs for our visitors using the stroller lanes to incentivize them to use this product even more and perhaps spend additional money while visiting Disneyland. Some similar ideas include sitting areas inside parks. There may be small pocket water parks that allow children to cool down and shaded resting areas. But ultimately, we are trying to incorporate all of those things into our prototype for the stroller lanes through Disneyland.
Awesome. Thank you, McCall. Now to bring it home, we're just going to cover a little bit about our testing plans for each prototype. We figured, with this innovation, it's as more of a service. It's the best way for us is to gauge some feedback directly from the customer. And so we decided to go ahead and create some Qualtrics surveys, as you can see on the snip on the right. But mainly, as we've already talked about already, we're going to be targeting those identified stroller users of all ages and demographics. This survey, can be accessible nationwide since it will be housed on Qualtrics. We'll begin to collect it starting next week and throughout the week. And they'll be given these tailored questions all about the stroller lane signage, kind of going off of what we designed based on some of our drafts and ideas, and they'll be able to kind of gauge how they feel about it, some of the features, and just provide some very helpful feedback as we continue to implement and revise our prototype. So that's the first one. And the second one is a lot of the same as well. Once again, we went to Qualtrics to create a survey. Surveys, once again, are just a big way for us to gauge feedback and continue to make improvements on the service. And so once again, it's going to be for stroller users. We don't want to get some irrelevant feedback from non-stroller users that will skew the data or just give us irrelevant data altogether. So it'll be targeted to them nationwide once again. And survey collection will also take place next week. And this one, it's a little bit different than the signage because it's going to be given the customer experience at the park and the image map that we put together. And they'll be able to go through that experience as well and leave some feedback on their feelings, what they would like to see and improve in the lane. And once again, that could help us create some further iterations. But with that, we hope you enjoyed, and we're looking forward to going to next week and developing upon this further. So thank you.